What we do here is go back.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Zach Jose podcast. My name is Zach Jose and we're doing it every day with Zach Jose. Today, with you and every day is my father. Can you say hello?
Hello everybody. Thanks for listening to our podcast, our son-father podcast, I should say, because this is every day with Zach Jose. So, here we go.
So, tell the audience what we're going to do.
Today we thought we would take you into our world and talk about a few things that may or may not be interesting to you, but they sure are interesting to us. Mm-hmm. For instance, Zach, do you have a topic that you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, it's really nice that you just pass it over to me. So I don't know about you, Jonathan, but for the last couple weeks, I've been, responding to viewers, or I guess listeners, left and right, and they've started submitting their questions. So we're going to go and answer a couple of those for the lovely listeners back at home. The first one is, what does coronavirus stand for?
Well, coronavirus, as you all know, is an acronym. C stands for clean your hands. O stands for obsessively wash your hands. R stands for re-wash your hands. O stands for obsessively wash your hands. N stands for never not wash your hands. And A stands for always wash your hands.
All right. Wow, that was really good. I don't know if I could top that. Okay. Do you want to go answer some more questions?
Let's go to question 2.
Okay. So, question 2 coming from New Dagoon is asking, this quarantine is making me feel so lonely. I talk to God sometimes. I even ask him questions, but he doesn't answer. Anyway, if you were guaranteed to get an answer to one question, any question, what would it be?
Well, first off, I don't know that I can resonate, or I don't know if I could agree or if that question resonates, because the questioner, the person who asked the question wants, or just said that God doesn't answer, but don't you think that God does answer all of our questions? Most of the time, the answer is silence. Wait. So what would be the question that I would want asked if I could get a guaranteed answer for one question?
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that one for a second, because, what you might first think would be the question you want to ask. You don't really want to know things like, when am I going to die? How am I going to die? Am I going to, if I was in your shoes and was single, would you, when am I going to meet Miss Right? Do you really want to know that in advance, or is the mystery better? I don't know. Is there a question that is in your head that you would want to know with all certainty?
Well, I mean, I think I agree with that, your previous statement, that like there's some questions you don't want answered. And I mean, part of that is I think it'll ruin the fun of discovering the answer for yourself, right? If you have a God-ordained answer, you can't really argue with that. But there's some sort of fun in just like arguing with yourself, at least. But if I were to go to God and say, hey, God, riddle me this, and just shoot away a question that he'd have to answer, I'd ask where to get the best burritos. Because who doesn't want a good burrito?
Yeah, I do love burritos myself. I really do. But that's just so subjective. I mean, the best burrito that you're eating is the one that you're eating right now, isn't it? I mean, so I'm reminded of a parable. Let me tell you this story. And of course, I'm retelling it, so it's not exactly how I heard it, but I think that's how parables go. So the story goes, there's these two rabbis that were arguing over a passage out of the Torah. And they have been friends for a long time, and they'd argue over this passage every time they get together, every time they sit down, see each other, and are enjoying their friendship, and they just argue over this passage of Scripture. And for 20, 30 years, they're arguing over this same passage of Scripture. And they've talked about it. They both know it so well. They've talked about it round and round. They've taken each other's positions and argued each other's sides. They've just argued about it so much. So finally, one day, God gets so tired of this argument that he says to his angels, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to settle this once and for all. I'm going to talk to those two rabbis and I'm going to tell them what I meant in that passage. So he goes down to earth and he introduces himself. He says to the two rabbis, hello, I'm God, and I'm going to tell you what I meant. And of course, both of the rabbis hold up both of their hands and say, stop, don't do it. And so that's the end of the story. But the what you take from that is that there is beauty in not knowing. In fact, there's beauty in wrestling with what might be the truth, rather than knowing for certain what is true. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I mean, I like that. It's kind of like they didn't want someone else to do it for them. Like, I don't know if you've ever played Celeste before, but it's this video game I have on the Switch. And if you've seen Sophia playing it, she'll be sitting there and just like, for each level, there's a high probability of dying. And she does over and over again and just has to keep retrying the level. And I sit there and I see her and I'm like, Sophia, you keep dying. And she goes, Zach, I know. Through gritted teeth. And I'm like, Sophia, if you hand me the controller, I can finish the level for you. Because I know I can't. I'm good at the game. And she'll look at me just she'll be like, Zach, I want to do it myself. Like, this is my game. And that's her, right? And that's the rabbis. They have, God can beat the level for them. He can beat the game, and but they're playing with it. And they know that they can do it, right? They have the capacity to understand if God is going to be able to come down and say, hey, this is the answer. But them, in the moment doing it that's the rub, to say the least. But yeah.
So that brings me to another topic. This is an offshoot. I'll show you why it's related. So the game that you guys are playing, or that she's playing, is called what? Celeste?
Yeah.
Celeste. So when I was in junior high, I had this mad crush on this girl. I won't tell you what her name is, just in case she's listening. And so just this mad crush, 7th and 8th grade. I used to like...
Wait, was it Celeste?
So I used to look at her picture in the yearbook and go, man, I just have a crush on her. And so instead of talking to her, of course, I talked to her best friend, right? And I would talk to her best friend about her. And so, of course, talking to the girl that I had a crush on, talking to her best friend, I would talk to her best friend too. And her best friend was named Celeste. So there you go.
Wow, yeah. No, that's really good.
Let's answer another question.
All right, let's answer another question. Ooh, this next one is going to be good. It's a disagreement. So, username BenthThomas222 is asking, on weekends, my boyfriend wakes up at 7:30 on the dot and is awake for a few minutes before going back to sleep for a couple hours. He calls this a morning nap. It's just called sleeping in. What do you think?
Well, I guess it depends on how you define nap. But my question about this is, how does she know that he wakes up and goes through this routine? I mean, if it's just her boyfriend, then obviously they're not sleeping together.
Should boyfriends and girlfriends sleep together? Is that what you're saying? No. I mean, shoot, have you ever done that and woken up in the middle of the night and been like, nah, I don't want to be up yet, and just go back to sleep? I mean, me personally, I just call that an extension of your sleep schedule, right? Like you just take a long sleep instead of like you wake up and then take a nap. But I don't know. What do you think?
Actually, so I have listened to people talk about this. I was going to say read studies and then all of a sudden try and sound like I'm scholarly, but I'm not. So I could tell you about some information that I've heard, perhaps as a podcaster, I don't know what, but people sleep schedules, people have, I think they're called circadian rhythms. People have circadian rhythms, and typically people sleep in cycles, and typically most people have a sleep cycle that lasts about an hour and a half. And so, interestingly, 8 hours of sleep isn't a factor. What do you call it? A factor of 1.5 hours. So if you go 1.5 hours, it would be 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, and then 7.5. So 8 hours is actually too long. And I've experimented with this personally. I found that really it's true that if I get 7.5 hours of sleep, when I wake up, I'm more ready to be awake than if I hit the snooze button and sleep for an extra 20 minutes, because then I really, really don't want to get up. And so, the other side of it is true as well. If I wake up at 6 hours, then I'm pretty awake, as opposed to waking up at 6.5 or even 7 hours. I'm more awake, or less tired, I should say, at 6 hours than I would be at 7, or 7.5 hours instead of 8. So that has been. I legitimately have experimented with that, and it seems to work for me. So I'm sure that there is something to be said about that extended sleep / nap time.
So what do you think? Is it a nap?
Is it a nap? So defining it, is it taking a nap in the morning, or is it just extended sleep?
Yeah.
Well, the simple answer to that is yes.
All right. Well, we're doing pretty good. Let's just keep this train rolling. What do you say? So, at Sneeze JPG says, my girlfriend told me she likes to pour soda on her popcorn at the movies. Not enough for it to leak out, but also not a small amount. She argues that people eat popcorn and drink soda there all the time. So this isn't weird and actually makes the popcorn better. Thoughts?
I've never tried that, so who am I to kind of diss that idea if I haven't ever tried it? Although, to be honest,
What?
it sounds terrible. Although sometimes, it is kind of cool to eat a soggy piece of popcorn. I'm not going to lie. I have, over the years, enjoyed soggy popcorn. But soggy because it's like sopped up oil, or butter, rather. So I do like that. I don't know that I've had Coke-soaked popcorn, but who knows? It might be the new thing. I do like combining ingredients because I think they taste good that might not be conventional. Like, for instance, everybody does this, but French fries and milkshakes, right? But then how about peanut butter and hamburgers? Or, I don't know, what other crazy combinations have you done?
Like, I don't know.
Ketchup and macaroni and cheese, or what?
Mayonnaise and French fries.
Mayonnaise and French fries. Yeah, see, that's not even weird to me. I love that.
Really?
I love that. Give us another question, Zach.
All right. At Ugly Boy I Austin says, my friends and I have been splitting apart because of this argument. What would win in a fight on an even, flat arena? All right, let me set the stand for you. A grizzly bear or a silverback gorilla? Half of us think grizzly, half think silverback. I personally say out of 100 fights, the grizzly would win 55 of them. But what do you think? That was okay. Austin, I'm just going to go off on a limb right here and say that your friends have never seen a silverback gorilla compared to a grizzly. First off, okay, I'm just going to take the floor, right? Silverback gorillas, boom, they're vegetarian, so you know that they ain't going to bite, too roughly. They don't carve into their meat when they eat it. They just eat freaking leaves. Also, grizzly bears, what are they? Not just vegetables. They're omnivorous, right? They eat freaking fish, smaller animals than them. They do a lot more damage and kill a lot more than silverback gorillas. So, right now, I'd say the grizzly back. Grizzly bear.
Zach, I gotta go. I'm with you. Grizzly bears are ferocious. They're huge and they're extremely, extremely strong. And every movie that I've seen a grizzly bear in, you're just completely afraid of. Right. So yeah. And how many movies have you seen with silverback gorillas?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. I think. What's the one with Sigourney Weaver? Something silverback gorillas. Gorillas in the Mist. Right. Yeah. And so I don't know if there were silverback gorillas in there or not. I don't know. But
hold on. This just in. Okay, I'm just gonna quiz you for just a second. I just looked up I googled the weight of each of these animals. What do you think a gorilla weighs? A silverback gorilla?
Probably 300 pounds.
330 pounds for the silverback gorillas in Eastern. So yes, you're pretty much on the money with that. What about a grizzly bear? What do you think?
I would have to say an average adult weight for a grizzly bear would be over 500 pounds.
For the male grizzly bear, they average around 600 pounds. Oh my gosh! You're telling me a silverback gorilla can take that twice its size with a less fighting shoot? I don't know. Yeah, no, I do know. And it's the grizzly bear. Sorry, there's no question.
Ah, that's pretty good. Again, I'm basing all of my knowledge on movies that I've watched. So if that tells you anything, I guess watch more movies, kids. Should we keep this train rolling, as you said? Are there more questions out there?
Oh, there's so much more.
There's so many more. Okay, excellent. Give me another one.
Okay. All right. Hold up. I just got to get to some of the good ones. Here, can you stall for just a minute?
Okay, so I noticed that you're wearing a grizzly bear T-shirt. Actually, it's not. It looks like a water buffalo. Is that a water buffalo? Water buffaloes and grizzly bears, they go together, right?
Sure.
Kind of. Not really, but again, watching movies too much. Okay, you got a question?
This isn't a question as much as it is just some gibberish that was written in, but Beastie Beat 2 says, I need to know if I'm a bad person for this, alright? I left my dog's poop at the end of someone's lawn because the bag I had blew away without me knowing. I normally hate leaving dog shit in people's lawns. If it was closer, I would have just used my hands. It is a tiny dog. That's it.
Are you a bad person? The simple answer to that is yes, you are. Unless it was dark. If it was dark, then it's okay because then, nobody sees.
Have you ever done that before?
I will not answer that question on the grounds that I might incriminate myself. I have a small dog too. So again, it just all depends. I mean, there's so many different factors, right? I mean, what's the texture? Is it soft and gooey, or is it a firm one that you see kind of bouncing on the leaves of grass? So I could see using your bear mitts if it was, you could kind of confirm visually that it's firm and polishable. But because if you could polish a turd, you know that it's firm. But again, if it's dark, then why take the risk?
Have you ever stepped in dog poop before? You know the feeling where you just go, oh, who didn't do their job? And your day's ruined, like immediately. That's me. Like, what?
You know what's worse is when you step in dog poop, but you don't realize it until you're in your car and you're driving down the street and you're like, what is that smell? And you look down at your side of your shoe and you see that there's poop squished up to the side of your shoe, and you know that you've got to get out of the car and then find a stick. We've all done this, right? You go find a stick, and you have to scrape the dog poop off of the bottom of your shoe. That is the worst. And so, yeah, I agree. It's the worst thing to step in dog poop. And so, whoever didn't do their job, that person is a bad person. I think we've established that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. A little bit more of your forte here. So, William 30967616 says, me and my friend are having an argument. This is a good one, right? What cheese is the best in a grilled cheese? He says cheddar, and I say American. Who's right?
again, I would refuse. I will typically refuse to give a solid answer on a question about food because that's just subjective experience. For me, the best grilled cheese sandwich that you're eating is the one that you're the best grilled sandwich to eat is the one that you're eating at the moment. So when it comes to cheese, have you ever seen The Chef? Have you ever seen the movie The Chef with what's his name? John Favreau is making a grilled cheese sandwich, and he's using multiple types of cheese, and I think even a couple different oils, or at least maybe oil or butter on the grill, and he's just like, the way that he puts it together and the way that it melts, and just the shots, the view of the cheese all melting together, that, flippin' looks delicious. And so I would say that American, although that is great sometimes, I have had grilled cheese sandwiches that were cheddar cheese that were also great. If you're going to ask my favorite, I'd probably, if you push me against the wall, I would say American. American always wins. I know that sounds terrible because, American cheese really isn't cheese. That's what, cheese snobs are going to say. But it's just delicious.
What about like mozzarella?
Yeah, see, mozzarella, I think, is kind of, it has one. Mozzarella is a unitasker. In other words, it has one place that it's good. Well, maybe two places. Mozzarella sticks, or it's deep fried, and then, of course, pizza underneath pepperoni or something like that. Hey, look at that. We've got my daughters have shown up. Zach's sisters have shown up, and are you going to be guests on our podcast here?
I'm actually a co-host.
Our co-host just entered the scene.
A coast?
A coast. She's coasting. She's coasting. She's coasting us. And so, Annie, can you answer this question? Zach, can you ask the question?
Yeah. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Annie Jose.
what cheese is the best in a grilled cheese sandwich?
Oh gosh.
Keep talking.
I think I like cheddar cheese, but I also really like Munster cheese because it's so buttery, Oh yeah. Maybe a mix of cheddar and Munster cheese, but it can't be shredded. I don't like shredded. No. Shredded tastes so much different. Don't even get me started, okay? I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I'll get started. So, can I sit?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do I just move it?
Yeah.
Oh, fancy. So cheddar cheese and mozzarella, a little mix of that'd be delicious. But don't you ever just like take a bite of a block of cheese? It's just, there's something to it. It just feels so good. I mean, yes, you literally cut up a cube, maybe 2x2 block of cheese, and then you just bite it, I mean, if you do this, I can't be the only one. So just let me know if you do.
Okay, so let's tell the truth here. So in the middle of the night, you walk to the refrigerator, you open it up, find the biggest block of cheese that you can, perhaps one that's not even open yet, slice open the plastic that is wrapped around the cheese, and you just take a big bite out of it, and then you put it back in the fridge?
No, actually, it can't be a rectangle. It can't. It really can't, and it has to be a certain thickness. But no, not in the middle of the night. Maybe a midday snack or before going to bed. But blocks of cheese.
Cool. All right, let's throw it back over to Zach for more questions.
All right. Hey. All right. This is another disagreement. And this is from LMW Glass. He says, about a year ago, a friend borrowed my copy of Wario Land 2. In the passing year, he and I had a falling out, and now are friends again. I have not seen or heard of this game since I handed it over. Do I ask for it back, or just assume that it's gone? What do you say?
Absolutely, you ask for it back. Now, having said that, there's probably multiple methods to use to ask for the game back. Let's talk about it for a second. I mean, what are your options? You can mention it casually in conversation, or you could go direct and expect an answer, or you could jokingly say, hey, I was looking for my copy. Do you still have that? And you know how you put a fake laugh at the end of your question just to soften the blow a little bit? Like, you're kind of kidding, but you're actually serious. Yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst. I think that's the worst method of all. So, asking my opinion, I don't know if you asked my opinion directly or not, but I'm just going to give it to you anyway. I think that absolutely you should talk about it, because otherwise it's just going to bother you, and so you might as well talk about it. And I think that it isn't something that you need to be mad about. You ask about it, and if they still have it, or if they remember it, or if they lost it, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just can't what do you call it, make it too big of a deal, unless it's really important to you, like it's keepsake because it was I don't know, a family heirloom or something. But otherwise, if it's just a copy of a game or a book or whatever the item is, then of course ask for it back so it doesn't bother you anymore. But once you find out its status, then you let it go.
So, I don't know. Have you ever lent like a game or like a movie to someone and they just never returned it? Like, that's definitely happened to me before. With my copy of Pokemon Platinum, I'm kind of still bummed out about that. Not gonna lie, but whatever. It's if you lend a game, okay. What's your name? LMW Glass. If you lend a game to someone and they're your friend, then you should expect to have it back. I wouldn't say like the same with like money, right? But definitely like if it's something like tangible, like a game. This is your friend. Probably still has it. It might be in their room somewhere, and they might not play it as much. But I would definitely go with bringing it up, but just like in a casual manner, right? Like you don't want to just straight up like, hey, where's my game? Because like maybe you're new friends again. Maybe you're not ready to be just aggressive, confrontational, asking yet. So my method is you just gotta buttery smooth. Just drop that question as smooth as you can, right? First, what you want to do is you want to start a book club with them. Talk about and just start reading books. And eventually, as all book clubs do, you're going to get around to Moby Dick. At that point, you start reading about Captain Ahab and about how he's on the seas and he's searching for this white whale, right? And a lot of people have over the times just used that term to describe something that they're searching for that they haven't found. And so eventually, when you're in your book club, right, when you're maybe at like the second to last meeting, you go, yeah, what are Captain Ahab is looking for this white whale. What are some other white whales you're asking for, or you're looking for rather? And he might give his answer. Your friends might give their answer, but no, you got to stand your ground here. This is when you ask. You go, hey, I've been looking for this for at least what do you say? At least a passing year or two, and this is called Wario Land 2. This is my white whale. If anyone has a copy of it, and you look your friend directly in the eye. If anyone has a copy of it, I would like to have it. And boom. Smoothest question ever. Smoothest retrieval. And he'll be like, boom. Dude, I got it. I got your exact copy. I got the one you're looking for. And that's it. That's the easiest way to get your copy back. What do you think?
I don't know that... I don't know that...
Oh, lychee.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'll just agree with you.
Lychee.
I'll have to try that white whale. Uh-oh. We're having a little bit of an issue here. The dog is trying to throw up in the living room on the carpet. Thankfully, she didn't, and she's now been taken out of the house.
Oh, lychee did that. What were we saying?
I don't even know. Maybe it's time for another question.
Okay.
Let's do one more question. I'm getting tired and I have to go pee.
All right. Okay, well, shoot. First off, I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for writing these questions. These are really nice. If you ever want to do that, just go on Twitter and ask us with the handle hashtag #EveryDayWithZachJose, and we will get back to you. But yes, this one's important. Rikers Fresh asks, Zach, which fruit is superior? And most importantly, which one would win in a fight? What do you think?
Which fruit is superior and would win in a fight?
Superior in a fight.
Win in a fight with who? with all the other. So it would be the king of the hill.
Yeah,
Like what is the number one would win in an all-out battle of king of the hill?
Yeah.
Which fruit would win? Well, let's see.
Not an apple.
Not an apple. Well, I don't know. I think an apple might be my choice. I mean, think about it. It changed all of mankind. There are religions that were started because of apples.
They get the apple followers. to help
Yes. Yeah. No. Wait. What are you talking about?
out. Well, like I don't know, like apple religions or.
Oh, you're talking about like sheeple?
Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about sheeple and modern day Apple followers. I'm talking about the Apple way back when. There was a guy by the name of Adam who swallowed it and it got lodged in his throat and it became the curse of all mankind. So maybe the apple, the most powerful,
Bad apple.
that apple is the most powerful apple that has won all fights of all fights.
Yeah. What about like a pineapple?
Pineapple,
Those are tough.
if you have a pineapple and a pen.
An apple.
All right, on that note, I got to go to the bathroom.
All right, everyone. Wow, thank you, Jonathan, for coming in again. And, you know, like always, this is the Everyday with Zach Jose podcast. You can find us on most major streaming services, most notably YouTube. And that's it so far. So, everyone, yeah, we'll see you next week. All right, goodbye. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Out.